The New Orleans Saints are awful. That's not news to anyone. They're 1-8. They got blown out by the Rams. Every road game they've played this year, they've lost by double digits. And this week, they get to go on the road to the Carolina Panthers, who now all of a sudden are above 500 and have matched their win total from a year ago. Maybe, and maybe, just maybe, that is an illustration of the importance of consistency and not giving up on a player too early. Bryce Young threw for just over 100 yards yesterday, but they're playing winning football there in Carolina behind Dave Canales. So, if you're looking at Kellen Moore and either Rattler or Shuck and thinking flush it right now, there are tons of examples to suggest why being patient can pay off. I'm not suggesting that either of these quarterbacks are going to be great starters or that Kellen Moore is going to be a great head coach. I don't know. The jury is very much out. But I'm not removing the possibility of any of that, of either Rattler or Shuck becoming a really good starting quarterback or Kellen Moore becoming a successful head coach. But I do look around the league right now, and one of the really interesting trends are former first-round picks who have gone on to different locations later in their careers and found a lot of success, suggesting that maybe a change of scenery is a good thing, or maybe the team that drafted them gave up on them too early. Look around the league. I mean, Daniel Jones, although the Colts lost at Pittsburgh a day ago, they're at 7-2 right now. I mean, Sam Darnold, after having a fantastic season last year in Minnesota, leading them to the playoffs after J.J. McCarthy was injured, is now in Seattle, and they just pasted Washington last night on the road and looked really good. Mac Jones, for an injured Brock Purdy, has San Francisco not missing a beat. Baker Mayfield, who was the number one overall pick of Cleveland, and we know the story. Went to Carolina and then was with the Rams and has found a home in Tampa Bay, where they've won the division in consecutive years and look like they're en route to do that a third consecutive year. All that to say, I think sometimes, as we're seeing now as evidence, is that a couple things can be true. Either teams give up too early on quarterbacks for lack of immediate success, or change of scenery sometimes can do a player good, which is why it was interesting when I saw Mike Florio over at Pro Football Talk today has a piece up about Kyler Murray. And some of the scuttle that he's hearing is that the Cardinals could very well be looking to move Kyler Murray. Now, the contract makes that prohibitive for this trade deadline, but as the way Florio says it, is that it seems almost like a likelihood that Kyler Murray is going to be traded. As a matter of fact, he writes, quote, "An offseason trade is very realistic, if not likely." Remember, the current coach did not draft Kyler Murray and they did not sign him. The current coach did not sign him to the extension. So you have a bad year this year. Potentially the coaching staff could pick their own quarterback, so on. So I guess, and then it caught my eye as I kept reading down. Florio notes, after the season, multiple teams will be looking for new starting quarterbacks. As of now, that list could include the Dolphins, Jets, Steelers, Browns, Raiders, Vikings, and Saints. So what would a Kyler Murray to the Saints deal look like? First of all, just start with the conversation of, would you be interested in Kyler Murray? And I think there's intrigue because of what I just mentioned. All the players that were first-round picks, even number one overall picks, that found success elsewhere. And Kyler Murray was the offensive rookie of the year and had a fantastic start to his career with Cliff Kingsbury. Was the offensive rookie of the year back in 2019. Then, of course, was the COVID year where he did make the Pro Bowl in his COVID year, started all 16 games. And then in 2021, they were 9-5. And, of course, then the injury for Kyler Murray sort of derailed his career. And after going 8-8, then 9-5, 3-8, 3-5, 8-9 a season ago, and they were really looking at this year as the season that they sort of hit that bounce back and built upon the 8-9 of a year ago. But Murray is just 2-3 in his 5 starts so far this year. And you could see a scenario where it might make sense for them to move on. And could you find and reclaim some of what worked so well early in his career? I can't help but think of Kyler Murray maybe in a similar role of Jalen Hurts a year ago in Philly, where, of course, Kellen Moore called plays for the Eagles. Stylistically, with the ability, the dynamic running ability, and, of course, the ability to throw, which Rattler is an athletic quarterback, but certainly I don't think we would argue that Rattler has the same dynamic running ability as a Jalen Hurts or of a Kyler Murray. So there's some intrigue there. And then you're talking about a guy getting into his later 20s. Kyler Murray's 28 years old right now. Could that change of scene possibly do him good? Now, I would caution that you could only start to have this conversation once you look at the contract to see if it would even make sense financially to do something like this. So Kyler Murray signed a 5-year, $230 million contract with the Cardinals. This was the extension on his rookie deal, and he's currently on this extension. So he's got 2 more years guaranteed on the contract after this year. So if you made a deal with Arizona in the offseason, hypothetically, you'd have him for 2 more years and then a team option for a 3rd year. And the cap hit, and you could always, again, if you traded for him, you could always sign him then to an extension and restructure and lessen the cap hit and do a lot of the funny math that the Saints have generally done. But he'd have a $53 million cap hit in 2026 and then a $43 million cap hit in 2027 with a $7.2 million dead cap number. So as to say, like, after 1 year, if it didn't work, you could move on, and it really wouldn't cost you much if you decide after 1 year it wasn't worth doing. So what would you be willing to give up for Kyler Murray, and what realistically do you think might be the benefit of having a player like that? Now, as I said before this season, I thought the Saints should have added a veteran quarterback to this team. I did not like going into the season without having a quarterback on your roster that had ever won a football game in the NFL. If nothing else, just have a veteran presence. And the answer, the rebuttal to that all season was, well, Kellen Moore was a quarterback and Doug Nussmeier was a quarterback. And so you have these guys that were former quarterbacks that are on staff and that work with the quarterbacks, and so they have that experience there. And I guess that's true, but I always have in my mind, Drew Brees wanting a guy like Mark Brunell or Chase Daniel there on the sideline, another set of eyes to sit there and and look at the surface there, or the tablet on the sideline, another set of eyes that he trusts. And I can't help but think of the benefit that may have had, or the option to have a veteran quarterback play and let these young guys sit and watch and grow and learn. I don't know that it would have made a dramatic difference on this team with the wins and loss record, but there's certainly merit to having that veteran quarterback as an option on this team. And maybe Kyler Murray could provide that. Now, that would be a very expensive backup option if you traded for him and he had a $53 million cap hit next year. But the Saints cap does get more in line next year to where they could afford something like that if they wanted to do something like that. But I think you'd have to decide if Kyler Murray is the option that makes the most sense that you would want to build around, or would you be willing to make a $53 million investment in 1 year? A $53 million investment in 1 year that could become a longer-term deal, or is it a $53 million backup? Now, if Shuck or Rattler become your starter and they hit, then because they're both on inexpensive rookie deals, it doesn't necessarily cripple you to have an expensive backup. And we have seen that before as well. I can't help but think of a guy like Brock Purdy, where he effectively took Jimmy Garoppolo's job after Jimmy Garoppolo had led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. So it happens like that sometimes, where the draft pick, the rookie on the rookie deal. Go back to Tom Brady in New England from Drew Bledsoe. I hate to reference it this way, and he'll gag if he hears me say it, but the Seahawks signed Matt Flynn to a free agent deal, then drafted Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson ended up winning that job as a rookie on a 3rd-round deal. So it becomes more affordable to have the expensive backup player. Anyway, I guess my point with this is to say, I don't know right now if the New Orleans Saints feel very confident about Rattler or Shuck as their future moving forward. That may change in the next 8 games. Maybe it doesn't. But I also know that where you are as an organization right now is atrocious, and you can't close the door to any possibility that could make you better. And that includes drafting a quarterback in the top 5 of this April's draft, and that absolutely includes the possibility of adding a veteran like Kyler Murray if the trade compensation and the contract makes sense for you, if you think you can build around that guy. Because there are too many examples in the NFL right now of guys that were cast aside by the team that drafted them that have found new life and lots of success in their second or third, or in Baker's case, 4th location. And maybe that's the change of scenery that Kyler Murray needs to regain a lot of the success he had early in his career.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.